Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Goa Ahead. And the matter that we are discussing this week is a very interesting one. Goa government intends to rebuild temples that were demolished during Portuguese era. So the question arises, which temples, and if they are talking about all the temples, then the moot question is, Mandir kahan banayenge? And I have four eminent panelists with me. First, I have leader and spokesperson of the BJP, Giriraj Pai Vernekar. Giriraj, welcome. Next, I have senior leader of Aam Aadmi Party, Amit Palekar. Amit, welcome. Third, I have very interesting and important personality on this panel, Jack Sukija, who represents the Goa Heritage Action Group, and he is also the vice chairperson of the TTAG, Travel and Tourism Association of Goa. And last but definitely not the least, I am joined by senior lawyer and political analyst Cleophas Almeida Coutinho. Cleophas, welcome. Giriraj sir, today I have to start with you. The question is, what is your government intending to do?
See, if you remember, even before the elections, Dr. Pramod Sawant had made a comment that at least some of the demolished temples should be rebuilt. And I think Goa needs to reclaim the historical past, our culture, and that statement, in the budget which was passed immediately after the swearing in, he proved that it was not a mere statement but an action statement by providing 20 crores for this purpose. So I, first of all, on behalf of the party and the people of Goa, I would like to congratulate the CM for taking the step of announcing a corpus. So now coming back to going back to why this is important. See, if you see Goa's history and the Portuguese rule, I think a lot of people are not comfortable when we talk about the Inquisition. But Inquisition was the very basis because of which the temples were demolished, because there was a very particular agenda that people should be disconnected from the religion. So people did not stop at demolishing a temple, but the holy water pond, which we call Tari, that was also destroyed. All the trees around it were cut. So I think this was a very barbaric act of trying to disconnect people from their culture, from their place of heritage, because temple is just not a place of worship. It is where the next generations are taught about the culture of traditions, and I think that is why this cultural revival is extremely important, and the step taken by the government is to be appreciated.
We will go into the details of that, but before that, Amit, how are you looking at this? How is your party looking at this? Giriraj says this is an attempt at cultural revival. What is your opinion on that?
See, firstly, I think when government makes a statement of the nature that it is making, I think we should understand one fact, that Goa is a state with communal harmony. We have not understood or studied the ramifications of such a statement, such a move. No temples which are allegedly destroyed have been identified. No places have been identified, and I think the government or the BJP has today learnt a fact that it's best to divide and rule. I think that's a fact which I see when it comes to such a statement which is being made. Now, of course, it's a very good thing that cultural heritage is revived, temples are revived, churches are revived. But irony of the situation is, sometime back we have seen that the same government was protecting destruction of heritage site at a UNESCO heritage site at Old Goa, and in fact has not taken any steps till today to protect that heritage site, have not taken any action against the government machinery which was involved in granting such fraud permission. So I think it's a very ironical statement, and I feel the ramifications of it is far-fetched when it comes to Goa's religious harmony is concerned. So it's a thing for me as a Hindu, thing for me as a Goan, and thing for me as a Goan who believes in communal harmony, that it will have far-fetched effects on Goa's communal harmony. And I have repeated this statement once again and again in my entire statement before you right now, that it has wide ramifications, and I think proper study needs to be done. You identify the structure. It's a very sensitive issue, it's a very sensitive topic to deal with. And before any study was made as to what are these structures which the government is intending to revive or to restore, such a statement has been taken very
You
indifferently
are
by
saying
the people of
it
Goa.
can create more confusion than clarity.
You see what has happened in last decade, and you've seen what has happened in last 1 month as far as Goa is concerned. As a Goan, it disturbs me. As a Goan who always celebrated all the festival, as a Goan who believed that Goa is an example for communal harmony for the rest of the country. What is happening in the state of Goa in last few days and a month or so is very disturbing for me as a Goan.
Uh, Jack, how are you looking at it? Both from both point of view. Number one, heritage, which Giriraj is already mentioning, and from the ramifications of it, the communal harmony part of it that Amit is mentioning as a travel and tourism person also.
So generally, so first of all, as a normal citizen, anyone knows what our constitution says, right? We are a secular state. The state has no business to interfere in religion, right? Religion is everyone's personal choice. You do it. So I think it's a very, very wrong statement made by the chief minister and the government if they are taking this up. Now, the second thing that if you are talking about restoring temples, it's less like a stone thrown in the air. You have not identified which temples you're going to restore. You're not identifying where these temples are or whether they're going to be rebuilt on a structure which already exists. Now, if you go to rebuild on a structure which already exists, there's an act of 1991 which is the Places of Worship Special Provisions Act. This clearly says that you cannot alter the religious structure or the structure of the character of any religious structure which existed on or before 15th August 1947. So clearly, if you're going to do this on sites which another religious structure exists, then then you're going against this very act. This was only allowed, an exception was allowed in the Ram Mandir case for this. Then the other question which remains is the government has already got limited resources. If you look at the archives and archaeology department, if this funding is going to be done through the archives and archaeology department, half their sites do not have money, they don't have maintenance, they have not been maintained for years. You take the Jain Basti, you take the British cemetery, not maintained. So where is this money coming from? And the Goa has so many more critical challenges. If you need to spend resources, let's look at places where Goa needs these resources. Where does it need? We are not looking after the environment at all. We are highly susceptible to climate change. We are highly susceptible to many other things. And if you're looking at nature worship, let's go back to nature, because what sustains us ultimately is nature. And I think more funds have to go there. Goa is
Very, very interesting point. Before I go to Giriraj, Cleofat Bab, how are you looking at it, both from the social point of view as well as the legal point of view?
Yeah. See, our places of worship are our symbols of rich cultural heritage. They deserve to be protected. See, we have already done work on Safa Masjid. The Basilica work has been done by the Archaeological Survey. At one time, there was a dispute between the church and the Archaeological Survey, and the government of Goa intervened. That is because we protect our monuments. We protect our heritage, and it is the duty of the state to protect our heritage. From the tourism point of view also, our heritage needs to be protected. But look at what the government has done. Both Jack and Amit has pointed out that the sites have not been identified. Sites are not identified, and still the government has set aside an amount of 20 crores without identifying sites. For what this amount is meant for has not been pointed out. Survey work has not been done, and the deputy director of the archives department says that they are going to do a survey, which means up to now nothing is known as to where reconstruction work has to be done. If reconstruction work has to be done, then maybe there are places of worship that needs also attention, like Safa Masjid also needs more attention. You have the church, St. Augustine Church, which requires attention. You have the convent and Church of Our Lady of Mount Carmel at Chimel, which requires attention. So, per se, I would not be opposed to protection of ancient monuments or ancient sites which are our heritage. But the way the government has done, the way the government is going about to protect Hindu temples which were destroyed during Portuguese time, and Jack has rightly pointed out that there is a law in force which says that places of worship as on 15th August 1947 shall be protected. So which means that now take a instance where, say at Sankwal or maybe at any other place, a temple existed. So are you going to pull down a structure which is protected under a law?
Okay. Now,
And it is not that there are no laws in force. See, even under a existing law, there is a law called the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act in force in our country. Is any place covered under that act? No, nothing of this sort is being done. And Giriraj pointed out that there has been a issue over inquisition. See, there have been abuses of history. But the point is, should abuses of history be repeated? One. Number two, at one point of time, the church and the state, there may be hardly any difference. But today, there is a big difference between a church and a temple, a big difference between a church and the state. Church and the state is not one.
okay.
So, abuse of history that happened at that time when church and state was together, can it be done today?
Okay. Giriraj, yes, respond to that and then we'll go to the finer details.
See, first of all, I mean, please allow me 2-3 minutes to,
Go ahead.
counter whatever everybody has said. One thing, thank you, Cleophas Bab and also Jack, for at least accepting the fact that temples were demolished and, structures of other religion built. And when you talk about abuse of history, saying that Inquisition was bad, the same man who brought Inquisition to Goa is celebrated. Today, everybody, when it comes to Hindu temples, we are, you cite constitution. Now, when government spending happens in old Goa, nobody talks about it. When Ministry of Culture and Tourism give a certain amount for rejuvenation of old Goa heritage, nobody talks about it. That is not religious. That is suddenly it becomes part of something else. But when somebody talks about rebuilding a Hindu temple, it suddenly becomes a communal issue, communal harmony and whatnot. Secondly, no, I'll just tell you, just Ayodhya has rattled political parties and all these so-called seculars, because nobody has talked about raising down a existing religious structure. If at all, what the CM has spoken is about rebuilding a temple where ruins of the temples exist. So I don't see a problem why this should be done. And again, I keep coming back to spending, which happens when, the St. Xavier's Expo
Giriraj, the
happens.
point is, there are 2 points now.
Yeah.
Number one, are you making a very categorical statement here that when CM makes a statement and in his budget speech with a budgetary provision that there exists no intention of touching any existing religious structure? Point one. Point two, without identification of the structures, on what basis the budgetary allocation has been made?
See, first of all, today if CM directs the Department of Archaeology and say that, identify structures, the next part which will happen within next 2 months is we have identified the sites, but there is no budget provision. So budget provision always comes before, and this was a state. See, again, I mean, this is, sometimes we talk about, like Amit Bab keeps talking about secular harmony. I mean, they have been reduced to a two-party, two-member party in the assembly, and we are a party which is in the ruling. And we did not shy away from declaring, even before the polls, that temples will be rebuilt if we are re-elected to power. So this is what we went to people with. People have given their overwhelming mandate to the BJP. So why should people be rattled? That is my very simple question. And why should it be only that when Hindu revival is talked about,
So no intention of touching existing religious structures.
Let me be very categorical that what CM has talked about is whichever temples where the ruins are found, they will be rebuilt, and that is the priority right now. That is what the Department of Archaeology has been said.
I mean, after this categorical statement from the spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, What problem do you have? They are saying we are not touching the existing religious structures, but our intention is to only identify the ruins that already exist and rebuild there.
Your hypocrisy lies in the fact that what your existing heritage, which is under archaeology, you are not protecting that, and then you want to rebuild temples. Absolutely you should rebuild temples. As a Hindu, I am happy that my temples which are there, but where are those temples? Have you identified them? So you have you have entered into a political scene. You have entered into an area where 60 years Goa, which has been happily living, you are trying to destroy that political harmony, and I stand by that point. As a Hindu, I of course pray to God, and I'm not less Hindu than any of the BJP person who is in power or who is a volunteer of BJP or a karyakarta of BJP. Of course, I care for my temples, I pray in the same temples, but I never felt that I had been sidelined in some manner or the other for last 60 years. And today you see the political polarization that is happening between the religions, and it's unfortunate for Goa.
Jack, same question. If the government is taking a position today that there is no question of touching any existing religious structure, but we are only going to look at the ruins, identify them, and try to revive them, then what's the argument?
Like I said, my main argument is that the government has no business to get into religion. Religion is a private matter. If someone privately wants to build a temple, fine. The government has more priorities which are more important. Now, Girija has just made a number of accusations. One of the accusations is that we are Hindu phobic. Nothing of that sort. Personally, I feel Hinduism is the greatest religion going around. I have an issue with Hindutva and aggressive Hinduism, right? So, what is the thing he is saying? That his basic thing. You tomorrow there are a number of temples which are being maintained on the Archives and Archaeology Act. Yeah. So you allocate funds towards them, you develop them, you make them a tourism corridor. Great for us. You do it all over. He's talking about funds being allocated to Old Goa and all. There's nothing which I think the state government allocates towards Old Goa. It's a UNESCO World Protected Site because it is a part of our culture. As a pride of our culture, it has been given, that money has been given to it. It's not been given by the state government. Then he's talking about the Inquisition. I think there is a lot of corrections to be how you understand the Inquisition. Yes, the church demolished, the Portuguese demolished a lot of temples, they did that. But in all religions, that was a done thing. People converted from Hinduism to Buddhism. There was an aggressive reconversion from Buddhism to Hinduism. It was not done voluntarily. So in the 17th, 16th century, religion was an important force and people did this. It's no longer relevant today. So why are you bringing the past up?
Okay.
And just one more point on
Yeah.
the Inquisition. I would like to make it clear that if you study the Inquisition, it was not the point. It was not the question of the temples being destroyed, which was the major thing of the Inquisition. During the Inquisition, people converted, and when they were doing practices which were against their conversion, then the Inquisition was carried out. It was a horrific thing. It was a wrong thing, but there's a fine distinction between temples being destroyed and the Inquisition, which from a technical point has to be studied.
Cleofat Bab, Giriraj said so many things. I'll straight away go to you and ask you, how do you respond to that?
If existing structures are not to be touched, they cannot be touched because law says you can't touch them. One. And even in the Ayodhya judgment, the Supreme Court has sang praises for the law which protects all religious sites as on 15 August 1947. But the point is, why should Hindu temples only be restored? There may be heritage monuments of other religions. There could be heritage good monuments, old ancient heritage churches, masjid, which deserves attention. Money could be set aside. See, if it's an issue of culture and heritage and tourism, then I would say it crosses all religions. It should not be religion specific because we are not a country which goes by religion. We tolerate all religions. We tolerate all religions does not mean that the state should fund any temples. But if a particular temple, a particular church has heritage value, then certainly it deserves attention and even state support. But the point is, today we find that a construction of memory of the historical past is used towards creating an electoral agenda. See, the point is, we may not talk about it, but finally, reconstruction of an immediate historical past that is used towards agenda, and we will find this is leading to polarization. See, the point is that we all want our heritage monuments, but please don't do it on religious lines. And because it is not that we have any laws any less, as I pointed out earlier, also there is an Ancient Monuments Act, Ancient Religious Sites Act. So use them. Don't use state power. Don't use electoral power because you have won elections to see that to further your agenda of
Okay.
polarization.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
to make one point.
Yes, yes.
Between 1470 and 1510, Goa was under the Adil Shah of Bijapur. We had a Muslim culture. There would have been a lot of Muslim monuments, whatever. If you're looking at the Portuguese, if the theory is that the state should interfere in religion and look at only Hindu temples, let us look at what the Adil Shah also had in place and identify both and see if they need
Okay,
to be
Giriraj,
reconstructed.
that's the basic question, that if it is a cultural revival or a heritage revival, let it be looked from across the religion point of view or across the history, rather than pinpointing towards one particular phase or one particular incident.
See, I think, as I said, somewhere this whole discourse has to be corrected. And when I said Hinduphobia, I still insist on that because you celebrate the architect of Inquisition, which everybody agrees was barbaric. We do not care about the religious entity at that point of time, especially about people who suffered. There were so many people who had to migrate to neighboring states, and because they did not want to convert. And even for those people who converted, they kept going back to their religion, and they suffered. I mean, about 16,000 people of them. We are not talking about one or two people. But when the architect is celebrated, we do not feel that the social fabric gets hurt. But when you try and change the discourse and say that the biggest part about Inquisition, see, again, as I said, temples were not demolished because the Portuguese and the church wanted to have fun. It was done as a part of a larger agenda that people should be disconnected from their culture and their roots. And that is why, if the chief minister says that the temple should be rebuilt, I don't see any communal agenda in it. So what I'm saying is, like just a Cleopatra was saying, ki some structure should be still continued. See, Department of Archaeology is not being shut down. It will still continue. The routine work will continue. But this is a special project where temples which are lying in ruins, will be rebuilt, and I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay, then let me come to a very crucial question, Giriraj. Why now? Your government has been in power since last 10 years. Why now?
See, governance is a continuous process, and I don't think everything can be done in 5 years. See, in 2012, when we took over, I think there were bigger issues to be taken care of. There were today you look at the infrastructure, today you look at the social the schemes which have been put in place to make Goan, a Swayambhurna in many ways. So I believe that it is, governance is a continuous process. And again, Dr. Sawant, in his, as I said, I mean, it's not an announcement which he made after taking over as the CM. This is the announcement he had made right before elections.
Yeah, Amit, yeah.
So it was sort of an election promise.
Okay. Amit, how do you respond to that? I think, why object? There is no point in objecting.
Please understand, none here, or none of
Giriraj
Goan.
claims that there is nothing political about it.
No, none of us, including me or I think other speakers here also, have objected to revival of temples. The question remains is why this is the time that has been chosen. Why? Why, without identification of the structure, create fear in the minds of the people, create polarization? I understand that during Inquisition temples were destroyed. Temples. No, let me come. Nobody has fear. Absolutely not. I will have more temples to go to. But I think it's time that the government comes across as a government which believes in communal harmony, getting Goans together. Goans are getting divided over religious issues, and we have seen that in last 1 or 2 years, and last 1 month has been at the peak of it. So I think, as a Goan person, as a person who has lived in Goa in most communal harmonious state, is today seeing a problem there. My child, I don't know how safe she would be.
Okay.
Or how safe she would feel.
You are saying you don't like the direction in which this is going.
simple thing, I think there is no harm in revival of temples, churches, mosque, or whatever religious places that the government intends to do, which has been destroyed. But identify them, get to people and tell them this is what we are going to
Okay.
do. Don't create fear, don't
Final
create
words. Yeah,
polarization.
Jack. Final words.
Uh, no, I still stick to my stand that the state has no business to interfere in religion. Religion is a private thing. So, if you want to revive temples, there are enough under the archaeology department which are not being looked after. There are enough structures. They're always looking. In my 20 years with the Goa Heritage Action Group, they've always been, the funds have been less. To their credit, in the last 6-7 years, more funding has been allocated. A lot of structures have been renovated, including the Saptakoteshwar temple in Narve. I think the Jain Basti was done. The Alorna fort has been done. So the government has taken a step in the right direction there. But there is no need to make statements like this when you have more pressing needs. Giriraj said that the government, there were immediate challenges when they first came to power. The same challenges or more remain after the pandemic. You see the economic situation today. How many people have lost income? So where are you going with making statements that in a time of crisis you're going here?
Okay. Cleophas, final words.
Yes. See, every now and then Giriraj is saying that, about the Inquisition. I come from that part of Goa where those who fought the Portuguese at that time have been celebrated. We have the famous Martyrs Memorial where every year we celebrate the martyrs who fought the Portuguese at that time. Secondly, that Inquisition at that time and the attack on the temples at that time was not a religious exercise. It was more of a political power and consolidation of economic power. Let us not live in the past. We are today a secular society. It is not our right or to build temples, but certainly monuments of all types deserve attention.
Okay. Giraj, quickly, come completely out of time. Final words.
See, despite of all these sermons of secularism, BJP has been continuously voted to power by the people of Goa, and it's only with the support and blessings of people of Goa that we've been able to be in power for 3 consecutive terms now. And I still believe that the decision taken is what people want, and it will resonate with people. We have just seen how Ayodhya and Kashi has rejuvenated the spirit. So I think the same thing will happen in Goa. And as I said, we will not fall prey to these double standards where we talk about Hindu revival and we suddenly say that it's going to disturb communal harmony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm completely out of time, but Jack, Amit, Giriraj, Cleophas, Bob, thanks a lot for participating in this debate. I think the most important thing, I think the underlying fact that we all discussed, if at all government wants to go ahead with this, identify the structures, and please ensure that the communal harmony is not disturbed while reviving all these temples and ruins, but identify the structures, make it clear to the people which are the sites you are looking at and you are going to redevelop. All of you, thanks a lot for participating on this panel. Keep watching. Go ahead.